Welcome to the Furthermore podcast. What's up, everyone? You do not want to miss this. I am with the awesome, the Funky Sam Medina. Sam oversees Hypothetical comedy. I think one of my first big open mics online on Zoom was with Sam and Hypothetical comedy. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Awesome. Glad you're here. For viewers that do not know, I met Sam online through Zoom comedy. It's a very booming community, this global community of online comedians. So Sam, tell us about Hypothetical comedy, maybe like how it got started and also what inspired the name.
So my wife, who's my wife, she's been my wife for about a year now, but we were dating for like 10 years. So we were doing comedy together because she's a comic as well. And she has this joke where she talks about her cheating boyfriend, and the punchline is that it's with a guy. And like people have always, and it's a pretty funny joke, you know. People have always like given me a hard time about it though, you know, like, oh really, oh yeah, really, you know. And so it got to the point where no matter where we were, no matter who I was next to, whenever she told that joke on stage, I would lean to the person next to me and say, it's a hypothetical situation. One day a few years ago, we were at the San Jose Improv, and they're always like, you know, what should I say about you? What should I say about you? And I'm like, whatever, just say whatever. I don't care. And so Athena was on, and I was next. And she was finishing up her set, and she was doing her last joke, and it was the cheating boyfriend joke. And so I told the host, I said, hey, all I want you to do is go out there and say, this next comic wants me to tell you that Athena's joke about a cheating boyfriend is a hypothetical situation. And it just so happened that we had packed the house that night. We brought a lot of people between the two of us. Nice. And she said that, and it just the place erupted, and it was just a really fun moment. And so hypothetical has always been kind of something that we just had in our cap, you know. And we took some time off of comedy. We came back to comedy in July of last year. And the whole idea was to be like just like a team, like a troupe, you know, like people like, you know, a comedy group, whatever. And it was just gonna be the two of us. We were gonna be Hypothetical comedy. And eventually we started producing a show, and it became that. And then we started doing online stuff, and it just became our branding.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like the I like the name, because for me it's like sometimes you have to, especially doing comedy at home online with Zoom, like you got to think outside the box of maybe what we're currently experiencing, you know, through the lockdown. And I think the hypothetical aspect of the title, like the word, like really draws, you know, that. So tell us about it, you know, because you and I met from all the awesome shows and mics you've run. Like, what was it like when the lockdown started? And because you in particular, like you really, your shows with Hypothetical comedy was like the onset of like Zoom mics and Zoom comedy. A lot of us were skeptical. And what was that like?
Hell yeah, I appreciate that. So when the lockdown first happened, like I didn't think it was going to be that long. Obviously, we didn't think, you know, we were going to be in lockdown that long. We had just come back into comedy, like I said, in July, and we had gotten to the point where the month of March we had 3 Friday night shows, and like that's like, you know, what we're working for, what we're trying to get to, you know. And then the lockdown happened, and I was only able to do 1 of the 3. I wasn't even trying to do comedy online, you know. I didn't think it was going to be very long until we were back on the streets, you know, doing comedy in the clubs and in the bars, a lot of fun stuff like we used to do. So about a month in, I did a couple open mics just to kind of, okay, I guess we're here. Let me just try this. And they didn't go too well. And then I found like Displaced Comedians, kind of the community for online comics. And from there, you know, you find a bunch of mics. And that's where I found the Panda mic and the Disaster mic and all these different mics. And I felt like I got my feet wet. You know, I got some experience doing it, and it was a lot of fun. And I started kind of growing on Zoom, which I didn't think I could do, you know, but I guess, you know, it can happen. And it got to the point where I felt comfortable enough. I was mid-May, I started doing the mic. I just did it as a one-off. I was just like, hey, you know what? There's not anything going on tonight. I'm going to do a mic tonight. And I just did that. And then a couple of days later, I decided I'm going to make it a staple and just do it every week. And it's been going since, mid-May.
Got you. Awesome. I think that, like, for me, thinking back, it's still a bit of a blur, but there was a point in time where it became normal to hop on a Zoom mic from a totally different time zone in a totally different area. Because there was a month where like I think the DMV, you know, DC, Maryland, Virginia, we were doing some Zoom mics and we were trying to simulate kind of the grind of like, you know, driving to a spot, you know, finding parking and then like doing your time on stage. Uh, but then really like Zoom comedy became its thing from my eyes once we could go to any time zone and perform. It was
Yeah, absolutely.
so as you might know, like I've been vegetarian my whole life, and you know, parents are Hindu, and they kind of imprinted that vegetarianism on me, and I haven't really been able to shake it off. Not that I want to; it's just uh, one of those things. But tell us about your vegan experience. I understand you went vegan for a while. I don't know if you're still vegan, but yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so my wife told me that she wanted in July. She told me that she wanted to do vegan for the month of August, and I was like, you know what, I'll try it with you. Just why not? You know, it sounded interesting. I was very anti-vegetarian vegan for a long time just because I like meat, I like cheese. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I do like, you know, a lot of people do. We decided to do this together. About a weekend, I started seeing a lot of differences. I have, um, I guess I can't say I have. I suspect that I have undiagnosed sleep apnea, where I should have one of those breathing machines. You know, Athena told me that I would always. My wife told me I would always stop breathing a lot to the point where she would like nudge me, and then I would go, and then I would just like stay asleep. And so that's crazy. That's scary. And I always dreaded like I really don't want to get, you know, I feel like I wouldn't be able to sleep like that.
Gotcha.
And so when we started doing vegan, that went away. That stopped happening. I was breathing all night and I didn't stop breathing. So that's cool, you know.
Huh.
And then also since I was a child, I've experienced like a thing. I didn't never really knew what it was, I guess, where like I would get acid and would like shoot up my throat while I'm
Right.
asleep. While I'm asleep, it's acid reflex, and I never really knew what it was until I was able to get a control on it. And so when I started doing vegan, that also went away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. And so I also had like a general like ache, stomach ache, you know, just general like all the time, kind of there, like just general. But now that's gone too. So I feel a lot better. I think it was the dairy. I think dairy's the problem for me. Over the weekend, so we did that for the month of August. About a weekend, I started feeling a lot better, and I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I think we're vegans forever. And she's like, what? I like bacon. And so we're still vegan.
Okay.
We've done it for over 3 months. I did experiment over the weekend. We had some super burritos with real sour cream, real cheese, and real steak,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was very good. It was so good. It was so good. We had one on Friday. We had one on Saturday, and then Saturday night I had acid again, the acid reflex. So I'm
Gotcha.
like, okay, this is why. This is why. Yeah. So you know, whatever. I'm enjoying it. There's some good foods that she makes, you know. And then there's, you know, when we go out, there's little, you know, this and this. Like I work next to Taco Bell, so I get Taco Bell a lot for lunch, and it's just beans and rice in a tortilla. It's just
Right.
still good.
Gotcha. Have you tried the veggie bacon, like the mock bacon?
No, not bacon. We've tried a lot of mock things. There's these Beyond Italian sausages that are really really good.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I haven't had the bacon.
Okay. I
Yeah, what about you?
also
Have you had the bacon?
I've I think I might have like tried the veggie bacon once. I don't know if I like cooked it right or put it like in the toaster oven properly or something. Like maybe I messed it up. But I eat like vegan buffalo chicken patties.
Oh yeah, you know
Like
what? I got these vegan buffalo bites and they were so good.
yeah.
They were really good, yeah.
So I you know, I try to stay on top of like the mock meat and
You are so you eat cheese and stuff and eggs and things like that.
yeah, I eat cheese and I eat eggs, and I would say eggs are kind of like the cutoff.
I wanted to ask you, since you've been a vegetarian your whole life, because there's a lot of good options. You know, well, I guess California, you know, is a little bit different, but I was gonna say I bet it's a lot more a lot easier for you to substitute meat for you now than it was probably 10, 15 years ago, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and there's a lot that goes into that, because I wasn't even comfortable for the strangest reasons, I think, in elementary and middle school to eat like veggie burgers, especially veggie burgers that looked like the actual patty. And a lot
Yeah.
of that, yeah, a lot of that fear kind of, I think my mom also felt maybe uncomfortable or perhaps skeptical. And so I think this issue really became important when, so I played sports in high school. I ran track and I played soccer, and, like protein intake is a big part of, just working out, building muscle and whatnot. And my coaches noticed that, there's some deficits, and also like when the team wanted to go out to like a dinner or something, I kind of had to talk to them, like make sure the diner or restaurant has a
Where are we going with the options? And in
yeah,
restaurants too, I'm sure that's a lot different too.
yeah. I think that the big chains of restaurants, or a lot of them, have caught up. I'm still surprised that something as like McDonald's still doesn't have like vegetarian protein options. Like there are McDonald's in other countries that have just this, like Burger King has a veggie burger, but McDonald's doesn't. And I just think, like, for if you're out and about, like 2 a.m., I might be able to get like some salad or some, I don't know, but like that's not, I need like protein. So I wish like McDonald's kind of stepped up. But Taco Bell is perfect. Like,
Taco Bell, yeah, Taco
yeah.
Bell's got some good options.
Yes. Is the Mexican pizza like legit like gone? Because it was here like a couple months ago, and in like Maryland, but it's a
Speculation is you can still order it on the app. My coworker ordered on the app, and he went and picked it up, and there was no problem. So, see, I don't know if that's Taco Bell worldwide or if that's just the one that next to my work.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's on the app.
Like a secretive marketing, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I have another question for you about vegetarianism.
Yeah.
So one of the things that a lot of vegans say, if you eat the Beyond Burger at Burger King, you're not being a vegan because it's cooked on the same grill as the beef. How do you feel about that? I say it's fine. I think it's good enough, but whatever. How do you feel about it?
I also think it's good enough, just from like the day-to-day just feasibility. Like I don't have the ability to change how, because I would get this question a lot. I think, and I would, like growing up, I would often get this question, like maybe from like teammates or classmates, some friends, but it would be in the frame of mind where they're giving me a hard time. Like I think from their perspective, they thought I was vegetarian by conscious choice. And so they would say like, like that stuff is cooked in like the same oil or the same like stove. And for me, it wasn't really about that. It's just, I don't know. It's like when confronted with like a, like a meat dish, I just, it honestly, it's like me eating like an inanimate object, like a pen or something, that's just not food. And it was more like psychological. So, but going back to the grill, and it's a matter of like, I think there's an element of access that might need to be discussed in terms of like, I was just raised in this like Hindu Indian family, and it's like suburbs and nothing too fancy. So it's like I can't really dictate like Burger King or Subway or
like how they prepare their food.
Yeah, and then it's like it's only in the metropolitan areas where you can get like, at least from what I can see, where there are entire establishments that are like entirely vegan or entirely vegetarian, and sometimes you just never know. It's like you don't always get to see what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Yeah. I think this is the most in-depth conversation I've had on this podcast about like the vegetarianism and veganism. Like that was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really into it. I really like to talk about that kind of stuff. It's very interesting to me.
Definitely.
I was literally like, I wouldn't even go to like, oh, that place doesn't serve meat, I'm not going there. Like I wouldn't do that. Like, no.
Have either of you come up in a situation where you had to like turn down plans. I don't know if that's likely because we are in like a pandemic, but like, because for me that like with the sports, go ahead.
Because of the vegan thing?
Yeah, because of the vegan. Yeah, yeah.
No,
Like
I mean,
restaurants.
right, because not really because of the pandemic, like you said.
Right.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that stuff really like messed me up for just like, you know, it's like, let's say like we won like a soccer game in high school, a big game, and like it's like I'm gonna be the party pooper one way or another. Like either before we get to the restaurant by saying that, hey, we got to make sure they have the option. If they don't, then everyone goes to their second choice. Or when we actually get there, it's like, oh, they don't have something that I can
And then
eat.
most of the time, like, you know, if you're a kid or in high school or whatever, and you're doing sports, you guys are going out for pizza afterwards.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Well, that's the other thing. I might write some bits about this. Like for some reason, I don't know if this is like all sports teams where I'm from, or it was just like the soccer team. Maybe it was like all sports team, but like whenever we won, I would say like after practices, sometimes we'd go to like a Chipotle or something where I wouldn't have to worry, you know, about the options, or like a chain, like a Red Robin that has veggie burgers. But for some reason, whenever we won a big game and there was cause for celebration, they would want to go to like a just in the middle of nowhere diner, or like the, you know, I don't want to bash small businesses, but you know, just an establishment that just had no concept of you know, like having a vegetarian option.
Yeah, like, so, I'm getting fries.
Right, right, and that was just so frustrating.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, no, I mean, I really haven't had the experience like that because we've only been vegan since August and it's a pandemic. One thing though is my work. We have luncheons at work. They're like, you know, different now because of social distancing, but they're having these luncheons and they're bringing in these not catering, but like food trucks, I guess, like really good ones. Like they're finding really good restaurants to have these food trucks and are bringing them in. And you know, the last few times I've had to not have anything, which is really sad because the food looks really good. Yeah. So in that sense, you know, and then one time at work, the big boss came in and he's like, hey, you guys, you know, to my department, he's like, you guys are doing a really good job. You know, I'm gonna buy you guys pizza today. And I'm like, well,
got you.
Yeah. So we ended up getting something else that had a vegan option actually. So.
Yeah, that's tough. Doesn't Whole Foods have like vegan cheese pizza, like the pizza?
Probably, you know, I haven't. There's not a Whole Foods where I am because I'm in like some little town. Gotcha. Where I used to live in San Jose, there's a Whole Foods I used to go all the time, but I didn't really pay attention to that before.
Gotcha.
Oh, but you know what? There's this. I was going to Taco Bell yesterday at work, and I bumped into the guy that runs a little pizza parlor next door to him. And he's like, where you been? You haven't seen you in so long. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm vegan now. He's like, I got vegan options. I'm like, you do? He's like, yeah, come see me. I'll hook you up. I was like, okay. So I guess he's back in my life.
Nice. Interesting. Yeah. I remember reading a headline or an article, I want to say 2 years ago about Taco Bell. And I think like the CEO, they had a plan or a vision about like having or expanding their vegan options. Do you know anything about that? Like,
not really. I am pretty mad at Taco Bell because they just got rid of fresco style. They dropped it all together.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, they replaced all the dairy with pico de gallo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was easy to, you know, I just let me get a bean burrito fresco style, you know, and then they just just say no cheese.
Yeah, fresco style hasn't. I don't think it even made a comeback that I was able to perceive in like the Maryland, because with Maryland, the Mexican pizza was still on the menu. I would say several weeks, if not a couple months after like the news broke that, you know, that it was going to be gone.
Like a month or two in advance.
Oh, okay, got you. Maybe that's
really, give people time to cry and buy a few.
Right.
It might have been just a marketing ploy too.
I wonder if someone has like a Taco Bell podcast, like a podcast about consuming
Taco Cast.
Taco Bell. Yeah.
They should. If they don't, they should. That'd be a good idea. Taco Bell podcast. I bet that exists.
Yeah. I was gonna say like I should start one, but I was like, I don't know. It's like,
no, you gotta be a meat eater. You know, you have to eat all the options at Taco Bell in order to have the Taco Bell podcast.
Right. Yeah.
On your order,
yeah,
you can't do it because you don't experience the full Taco Bell experience.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't both sides the issue. I literally can't. Yeah. So what is your opinion on, say, doing Zoom mics versus investing like time and energy into maybe making like YouTube sketches or like expanding other online things? Like, what's your take on that?
I don't know. I don't really make YouTube sketches. I do want to start podcasting. I have a lot of ideas of podcasts I want to do. I've been kind of like slacking on doing that, you know.
Gotcha.
But I do want to do that. I really do. And I was thinking maybe this weekend I'll get started. And I say that every weekend, though. Maybe this weekend I'll get it started, you know. I do a lot of Zoom shows. I haven't done much this week. I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of worn out, you know.
Gotcha. No, I hear you. I would say Zoom shows and mics, like they require, like for me, the same amount of energy, more or less, like as when I get on stage. Like there is a level of, you know, exhaustion. I'm sure for you as someone that's running the actual shows. I would say for me, the only difference is like I'm not necessarily tired from the commuting, you know, the driving, because there's none.
You mentioned parking earlier, and like I do comedy in San Francisco. Well, I did do comedy in San Francisco. Let me tell you, you got to arrive like half an hour early just so you're not late, you know, because you gotta find parking. It sucks, and then it's an hour home. So if I'm getting out of there at midnight, I'm getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's one thing that I do like about Zoom is like there's no travel time, there's no parking.
Right.
At your own house. You know, you don't have to worry about buying beers. Yeah,
definitely. So here's a question. One of the things that surprised me. So I've only been doing comedy for just over a year, maybe a year and a couple months, and I began to see a big overlap with the comedian community and like wrestling. And I know very little about wrestling. But I just kind of know or perceive that there's a level of overlap. And so could you just like talk about like, you know, like your appreciation for wrestling and maybe like, do you have any ideas or perspective on maybe the overlap with like, you know, comedians and wrestling?
Yeah. I mean, I started watching wrestling when I was a kid at a very young age. And then in 2013, I started a wrestling podcast, which I did for a few years. I had a lot of cool stuff on there, a lot of cool guests. Had a lot of fun doing that. I want to get back into doing. That's another thing I want to get back into doing because it was a lot of fun. And then, you know, with Zoom, podcasting is like, I don't want to say it's more fun, but it seems a lot more fun, you know, than when we used to do it on Skype a few years back. That was crazy, Skype. But yeah, so there's a lot of comics that are into wrestling. There's this group I'm in. It's like a comedian wrestling meme group where we just like pass around memes and wrestling. So it's quite fun online. There's famous podcasts, you know, there's a lot of comedians doing podcasts about wrestling and things like that. And it's a lot of fun.
Got you. Awesome. Anything else you wanted to talk about or plug?
Just I do the mic on Friday nights. That might be changing soon, but as of now, my schedule's the same. So that's always fun. So if you're looking for a mic on Friday nights, you know, I got it. I got you covered.
Awesome. Sounds great. So yes, I will have Sam Medina's social media and Hypothetical Comedy's social media info. I'll put the mic information as well with all the time zones and the streaming sites. And thank you again, Funky Sam Medina. It was a huge pleasure having you on.
Hell yeah. I'll see you on the Talk About podcast, man. Thanks.